everybody. I'm Julie Guy.
And I'm Tamara G.
And in case you don't know it, we're those two girls in the morning.
This is your 1 hour studio.
Well, thank you, sir.
You're here.
We find there. It's Julie Guy.
Is that what the kids do on TikTok?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is DeAndre French, and it's been a while since I've been back. It's been approximately 3 weeks since our last episode. Our last episode with Melissa at the time, it's been doing very well, and I'm glad that a lot of you have enjoyed it. But I have another special guest here. This is Julie Guy. Julie, how are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing so good. We've tried to do this earlier and I had a little mishap, but now we're here. That's all that matters. Julie, matters. Yes.
Yeah.
So Julie is I'll let her talk, but I gotta get my little spiel out really quick. So Julie is a radio personality. She is very, 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 very resourceful. She has oh yeah, gotta put that. Has a great background when it comes to health, taking care of yourself, exercising. And I think her story in itself is just so inspiring because sometimes we listen to people on radios and we don't see the face and we don't put faces to the name. So Julie, tell me a little bit, first of all, about who you work for and how you got started there.
So I work for 101.5 Light FM. Many people know the jingle, 101.5.
Yes.
I'm not going to, but
I remember. It's funny you say that. I remember that.
It's a heritage adult contemporary station, and I've been fortunate enough to do mornings there for the past 11 years. I just celebrated my 11th year a couple of weeks back, and that's under the Odyssey umbrella. Odyssey owns 7 other radio stations in South Florida, but they own quite a few in the country. And I've been doing mornings itself I always gauge it on how old my son is. He's 22. So I've been doing mornings for 22 years, but I've been in radio for, how old am I? 30, oh my gosh, 32, 33 years. I don't know. I lost count.
Yeah.
Quite a while. And I love it. I still love it. It's changed so much, but I still love the radio.
Yes. And it's so funny. Radio is like a lost art. I remember I was talking to, because usually with radio personalities, I talked to a guy yesterday. I can immediately tell just by the way the inflections are that, because you guys have to captivate. It's a little bit easier to captivate with video because you can be, very expressive with your hands and all these different things. What do you, and I'm asking this for myself, maybe some other people out there may be a little bit curious, but how do you, when you're doing your radio show, how do you create that excitement with just your voice?
Well, that is a work in progress. And so when I first started, you told me a story about your mom before we recorded. So I'm going to tell you a story of mine. When I would first start on the radio, and my biggest fans were my parents and anybody that was related to me, my mom would always say, just stop talking so fast. And I would say, no, what do you mean? No, you don't know what you're talking about. Of course, she knew exactly what she was talking about. I talk very fast. And a lot of it was nerves. A lot of it is when you're speaking face to face like we are, you tend to speak faster because you can do this and you can do that.
Yes.
I had to learn to slow down. It's okay to pause, which in radio is kind of a catch-22. You're not supposed to have dead air, but at the same time, if you hurry through what you're about to say, guarantee people have only caught a tail end of what you've said. So the key is to pause, enunciate, and give it a minute before you do the next. But let me tell you, that was not something I learned overnight. That took a long time. So, but that's the secret. And I find that when I do that in person with people, it also makes a difference.
I can tell you, and the people that are going to be listening to this episode and listening right now, it is a lot harder than it looks. And I'll tell you really quick, it is incredibly difficult because when I first started too, I mean, we're 6 episodes in, but I remember like there's so much because you're looking at yourself, you're judging yourself, and you tend to talk faster. So it's I think when you have that idea, hey, I just want to have a conversation, but the nerves, your heart's beating fast, your mouth gets dry, all these different things. So I really respect you guys and your ability to be able to captivate us because remember, radio hosts have been a thing since like what, the 30s, the 40s?
Oof, I don't know.
Yeah,
a long time.
Yeah, there was no TV or YouTube back then. So
what I think I just made this correlation with somebody the other day. Obviously, podcasts are the thing, right? Everyone wants to have their own podcast.
Everybody.
And how do you make money with a podcast? You get sponsors, right?
Yes.
Well, that's what radio is. It's a podcast, and the sponsors are the commercials that you hear. So, and let me tell you, I run into people, once upon a time, radio was your only way to get new music or to hear conversation, etc. So in the earlier days, and I used to work on an active rock station, so that tends to lend itself to a certain kind of an audience. Whenever I went somewhere, they were like, oh my gosh, you're on that station? Oh my gosh, I listen all the time. Now, it depends on the demographic of where I am. But the younger set, my children included, right? They don't listen to the radio. They listen to podcasts. And they'll say, Mom, you should do a podcast. And I'll say, I do a podcast.
Every day. Yeah.
But it's the idea that it's not hip and cool. You can't get it on an app, except you can. We're on the Odyssey app. But it's just perception. And once I broke it down to somebody like that, they were like, you're right. It is podcasting. I said, I know. We've just renamed it. And now you have so many choices. It's almost like you don't even know where to begin. Kind of like going to the Cheesecake Factory. You have no idea what you want to order because the menu is 90 pages long.
There's a million people there too. Yeah, of course.
Yep.
So going back, no, that's very interesting because I think, like I said, radio is not a lost art. I thought radio was a lost art, but there are times where I can turn the radio on. I just enjoy listening. Like one of my wife and I's, like our favorite thing to listen to is 101, I think, .3 jazz station. Okay. And So and I say that because I'm very like self-reflective. This guy, he has like that old 60s really deep voice and
baritone.
He talks baritone, but it makes you feel like it makes you feel like you're back in like the 60s and you're sitting in this smoky jazz club. So I have no idea what this guy looks like. Yeah, it is.
Done his job. His job. That's beautiful.
Yes. And he comes on.
That's what radio is. It's theater of the mind.
Yes. And that, and we'll get back to that a little bit. But when you think about your career, how did you know? I know, and we'll talk a little bit about your family's hotel business and all these things, but going back even before that, when you worked in that business, I'll let you talk a little bit. How did you know this was it? This is what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to use my voice.
I didn't know, but when you look back, all the roads led to it. I've asked people this many times, and I think about my kids, and I see now a little bit of what I think they might be doing in their future because I noticed what they did when they were kids. So when I was a kid, I would interview my brother in my tape recorder. I would record songs off the radio, which any Gen X kid, because I'm a Gen Xer, did, because that's how we got our songs. Got them off the radio unless you went to the record store, So I did that, and I loved it, and I would put on shows and interview people, and that was what I did. And then when I was in school, I was chosen to I went to a Catholic school for a little while. I was chosen to read the prayers over the announcements. I didn't,
Mm.
I don't know why. I just was like, okay, they chose me. And then when I was in high school, I was part of student government and I had to get up and, do some speeches. So I don't think I knew that I wanted to do this, but looking back, it makes sense. And we had so real quick, we're talking about my parents. When you say hotel business, it was a 8 efficiency motel on Hollywood Beach. My parents,
Still.
yeah, my parents are from Italy, so I'm a first generation. They're
Mhm.
Italian, and they moved
Mhm.
from Italy to Canada, where I was born, and I moved to Florida when I was 5. So we
Mm.
moved to Hollywood Beach because my parents were tired of the cold. It was freezing, and they bought a little motel. It was 8 units, and we also had a bakery, an Italian, because you gotta have a bakery if you're Italian. You gotta, I guess, have a bakery. So we were cliche. And my parents were of the immigrant mentality that we don't hire people, we have children. So
Mhm.
I worked like an adult since I was a
Mhm.
kid. And I'll tell the story, and my kids will roll their eyes and go, there she goes again. She worked. And I did. I worked from 7 to 7, and I'm not exaggerating. Since I was a little girl, I used to hate summer break and school break because I knew I'd have to work. Where everyone else is excited about being off, I was like, oh. And I felt like I missed out a lot on a childhood. Like I didn't get to do, didn't want to. I wanted to be a cheerleader and I wanted to
Mhm.
be sports, and my parents were like, nope. And very strict, very very strict. I wasn't allowed to have a boyfriend, any of those things. I mean, every
Mhm.
cliche under the sun. That was me.
Mhm.
And I look back now and I'm so grateful. But
Mhm.
you can't tell a teenager that. You can't tell a 15,
No,
16
absolutely
girl,
not.
you're going to be thankful for this one day. She just wants to go to the movies with her friends, go to the football game. So
Mhm.
my parents taught me a tremendous amount of work ethic to this day, where I'm annoyed when other people don't have it, but I have to give them some slack because it's not normal.
Mhm.
And they taught me, they were trying to protect me. So now as a parent, I understand where all
Mhm.
that came from. So I'm grateful for it. So I do think it was a good thing, but again, when you're young, you won't
Yeah.
know. You don't see the seeds that are planted when you're young, that's for sure.
Yes, and I told you before we recorded, I love asking questions. I'm curious. A lot of it is for me, but the bakery, what kind of food? Like what kind of food did you have in that bakery? I love Italian dining. I love
So
Italian
we were a
dishes.
bakery. We were a bakery deli.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it was a bakery deli. We had a little bit of a connection. Yeah, so we had all your cliche. We had cannolis and
Mhm.
sfogliatelle, and we had zeppoli's
Uh-huh.
and cannoli cakes, and we had a deli. So we had prosciutto and salami and
Guanciale?
soppressata. Guanciale
Mhm.
is something you use when you're
Ma-
cooking. Um,
yes, yes.
but we also had fresh mozzarella, and we sold
Mhm.
pasta, and we sold Italian tomatoes. I
Mhm.
mean, we were a little bakery deli in Hollywood for about 10 years, and
Mhm.
actually, we also during high school we were near my high school, so all the kids from school would go after school. So it was quite the place to be in the
Mhm.
80s. And
Mhm.
the food was pretty good. I'm actually pretty spoiled now. I can't go anywhere. And everyone always is like, "Oh, you don't like it." I'm like, "No, I know the real deal."
Yeah, of
So,
course. Yeah, your
yeah.
taste buds
It
are
was,
like they're advanced taste buds. So it's
it
okay.
was so good. I ate so well as a child.
Yes. There's actually and as I said, I'll say this again, we're gonna veer off course a lot.
Okay.
There's a great Italian bakery right here in downtown West Palm Beach. It's right on
Okay.
Palm Beach, it's right on Palm Beach Island. They actually sell
What's it
like
called?
it's called I gotta get the name. I'll find the name. I can't remember the name.
Because
But
I think I've heard of.
yeah, they sell and I'll look it up as I'm talking. But they sell authentic Italian food. If anybody's in the Palm Beach area, it's actually on Palm Beach Island. The food is very affordable. Amici Market. That's
Oh,
what it's
really?
called.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay.
Amici Market. My wife is an Italian. She teaches Italian. She's a professor. The owner is pure
Oh,
Italian. They have everything. So yeah, definitely check them out.
I got to go. I
Gotta
have to
go.
go.
Gotta check
Great.
that out. You would love. We'll talk offline a little bit. But so You speak about work ethic, and I can
Yeah.
see you're a hard worker. You work this morning, and somehow you're having an interview with me now. How did that shape your work ethic and to the person that you are now? I mean, how much goes into your show and the preparation? Let's go there. Forget the work ethic because I know you're a hard worker, but preparing with you and Tamara, how did that come about? How did you guys meet?
We have a funny story together, and how I got to mornings is another funny story. But we'll go back and forth. So we don't
Yes,
we
yes.
don't.
Don't worry, I'm rusty, so don't worry. We'll
No,
get there.
I don't want to bore anybody. But so
No.
Tamara, so well, actually, I should tell the morning story. So I
Yes.
started at WSHE. She's only rock and roll. I was an intern for 2 years. I didn't get paid. That's what I
Mhm.
mean by work ethic. I wanted to do it so badly that I
Mhm.
showed up every day beyond my college internship. It was over, and I just kept showing up. And part of my internship, I also went to WSVN thinking I might do on air.
Yeah.
And Hurricane Andrew had just hit. So it was pretty devastating and very, very grim. And I wasn't interested. I had just left this music, environment where rock stars were coming through the door. And all of a sudden now I'm
Mhm.
in this newsroom and all they're talking about is devastation. And so I was like, yeah, this isn't for
Mhm.
me. So I went back to She and I never left. I showed up every day. I worked for free for 2 years. I meant overnight, whatever they wanted me to do. Now I had the luxury of living at home, so I could do that. I paid
Mhm.
my bills. I had a job and I was going to college. So I did whatever I had to do. And right place, right time, got a gig overnights, midnight
Wow.
to 6. Yeah. So I did that for several years. I did nights there. Then I did nights on 94.9 Zeta. Then I did afternoon drive on Big 106, it was called at the time. My
Mhm.
goal was always to do middays. I was like, that's the perfect shift, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the middle of the day. I don't have to wake up early. I don't have to be up late. It's perfect. If I ever have a family one day, I want that shift. I mean, I wanted that since the minute I got into radio. That
Mhm.
was my goal. Middays on the radio, perfect shift. I
Mhm.
never, ever got middays, ever. So it was okay. I got afternoon drive, which was better. But in my
Mhm.
head, I was home at 8 or 9. Like I was always thinking about quality of life, not thinking about like afternoons is better than middays.
Mhm.
So I'm pregnant with my son, and I had left radio thinking I was going to be done and be a stay-at-home mom, which was never going to be for me. I lasted 4 months. 4 months I was like, I gotta work. I can't stay home. Plus we needed
Yeah.
money. I didn't
Yeah.
marry an independently wealthy dude.
Mhm.
So 97.3 The Coast was looking for a midday position, and I went there.
There
And it
you
was owned
go.
by
Yeah.
Cox Radio. So I
Mhm.
walked in, I had my resume, I had my tape, and the program director listened to it and he said, I've heard about you. He said, I'm going to put you on in the morning. And I went, ooh, yeah, no, I don't want to do that, which is ridiculous that I would say that because that's the
Mhm.
coveted spot. But I
Mhm.
had a baby and I wanted to be home with my baby and work a little bit and best laid plans. And what do they say? You have a plan and God laughs.
Yep.
So he said to me, I only have mornings for you. And I was
Mhm.
like, oh God. I said, okay, well, I'll try it. Well, that was 22 years ago. And looking back, it's the best shift ever. Now I do wake up at 3:30 in the morning and I do look like a zombie most of the time, but I'm home
Ooh.
by 11:30, 12 o'clock every day.
Mhm.
I was able to have a family, pick up my kids every single day from school, take them to whatever they needed to do after school, and went to bed and did it all over again. So that was my morning trajectory. Having said that, at the coast in the same building was 99 Jams. Tamara G was doing mornings at 99 Jams. In the very early days of me being at the coast and she was at 99 Jams, we would see each other in the elevator
Mhm.
and we would be one of these. Hi, you tired? I'm tired. She would get off on her floor. I would get off on my floor. About 3 years into about 3 years, I was at Coast for 12 years. 3 years into doing mornings, they were restructuring their morning show at 99 Jams and they loved her because she's such a great person. I knew
Mhm.
her a little bit. And they said, you know what? Why don't you go to the coast. They're looking for a news person. And we were looking for a news component at the time in our morning show. And she did the news and never left.
Wow.
She just fit in. And then the other girl that was actually my other girl, she left. There was a lot of back and forth. And it's radio. It's some people work out, some people don't. And I'm giving you the cliff notes. But Tamara and I hit it off immediately. And we worked together for a year and a half. Then she got a great opportunity to go do something phenomenal, which I said, I wish you luck. I wish you wouldn't go, but go. And that didn't work out. Thank God. And she came back. And so we had a great run. We were there on the air together probably 7 or 8 years. Our ratings were phenomenal. And she became quickly one of my closest friends. And to this day, she's like a member of my family. My whole family knows her. And we just clicked. We are so similar and so different. Same work ethic. We're so alike. And I just love her to bits. I really do. I don't know a better person than her. And so then we were separated because consultants and people come in, and I was let go and she was let go first. And then I moseyed myself on over to Light. And 2 years in there, they said, hey, who would you like to be your other half? And I said, Tam, are you busy? You
there
busy?
You go.
Said, nope. And there you go.
Wow.
That's the story.
Yeah. And I think that's a great story. And I think it's incredible because when you think, and I'm thinking back, I'm 35. I mean, I come from the generation. I'm a millennial, but we had radio.
Yes,
you
did.
I remember, I remember 99 jams. I remember 99 jams. And I remember when 102.3, they came around. It was like this new age movement. I was in like 9th grade. But going to school, my mother would always play 99 jams. She would play Hot 105. She got into like Real Radio 94.3. And I started listening to these things. But what I noticed is that there weren't really a lot of women.
No.
It was male dominated. Even 94.3, I remember they had Lexi, Rich, and some other people. It was, I believe it was Clear Channel, I believe. But it was a male dominated thing. And then the woman would usually come in. And I think the women being, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I think women being head of radio came later around like the 2010s, or am I wrong? Because it seemed like I didn't hear a lot of that. It was more male dominated.
Well, so growing up, I don't. You're too young for this, but Mindy and Bo did a morning show on Power 96. They were the first female duo, and they were also a black girl and a white girl. So it was interesting.
Very interesting.
That was in let's see, I would say late 80s, early 90s. So that was the first. And then you didn't have it again until, and I will give my program director props at the time. His name was David Israel. And he wanted 2 women. He thought it would be different. And my general manager also, Mike Disney, I want to give them credit because Mike Disney and David Israel, they were like, let's see. Our audience is women. Let's see what 2 women do. And I didn't know if it would work either, right? It's not, and I tell people this all the time too. I worked in male rock-oriented radio. It's a different animal than female. Female demographic is more difficult because women, and I speak for myself, I want authenticity. I want something to be funny. I don't want it to be crass. I want it to be real. I want to relate. And if you're phony, I'm gonna notice it. I'm gonna know.
Of course.
And so there's all these things because that's what I want, and that's what other women want. So it was I had a learning curve, and I'm a woman. But it took the right formula. Some women resonated, and I'm not saying all women love us because obviously not all women do, but I think we have a good balance.
Yeah.
But to be 2 females on a morning show, we're one of the only other ones. I mean, there's some, I think there's got to be a few more. I really don't know. I'm not sitting here, checking, but typically the formula was either two guys and a girl or a guy and a girl. The girl was always the color commentator. She was always the laugh track.
Always. Yes.
Never had
Yes.
anything interesting to say. And it's a shame
Yes.
because we got a lot of interesting things to say.
You do. You do. I was raised by women. I know. You do. Yes. 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 I love it. And obviously, thank you for your contributions. As I said, I used to be a fan of radio. I still love radio. I actually love satellite radio. Satellite radio is great. I think satellite radio is great, but I think our own local stations are great too. You got to give them a chance. But I think your contributions and some of the stuff I've been reading about you it's amazing. So thank you so much for your contributions.
You're welcome.
But let's you remember what you said. Slow down, pause, leave space, leave space, breathe. But let's talk about energy. You've been doing this for a while. I know that your job can get very busy. What is it that you do? I know that you're really big on health. What is it that you do to stay balanced? I mean, you're waking up at 3 a.m. How do you have the 3:30? So how do you have the energy now, and how do you stay fit? What are some things that you do that can help our audience out there that are struggling to have the energy to get through their day?
It sounds counterproductive or but as tired as you are, if you exercise, it will give you energy. I can tell you, I can promise you, I work out every day and I do it after work immediately. Like I go home real quick to grab a bottle of water or change, but I make sure I do it because if I come home and I sit down, it's going to be really hard to get me up. That's just what works for me. And mornings is tough.
Yes.
I've had to navigate a lot of different, because I had children, and when you have kids, you don't have kids yet, I presume, Andre.
Mm-hmm.
You froze.
No, it's okay. Just repeat. I'm going to edit it out. Don't worry about it.
Do you have any children?
No, I don't have any children yet.
That's okay. You don't have any children. Well, and I say that's great, and you will. I hope, maybe, I'm sure.
Yes, I want children, of course.
But your life will completely change. And when you have babies, especially, they don't sleep. And so they weren't sleeping, and then I wasn't sleeping. So but I'll tell you, I had to find this. I work out every day, and I don't kill myself. There was a time when I was a big runner. I did a lot of marathons and half marathons. I don't have the patience for that anymore. And you do change as you get older, and I'm bored now with running because I've done it so much. But you find something that works for you, whatever it is. For me, I love Orange Theory. I like a 45. I like classes now because I've done my own thing. I've done the gym thing. I've done the running. So now I like to go. It's an hour. It's efficient. I've hit all the stuff I need, my cardio, my weights, and I'm out. And then I've got energy for an interview, my kids. I got to go to the grocery store. I got to go to this appointment. I have energy. I will tell you by 8 o'clock, don't talk to me. I can't. I'm done. Like, I'm literally finished. I can't have any more conversations. But that's just me. Tamara G, she has a whole different routine. I don't nap. Sometimes I'll catch a 20 to 30-minute cat nap. I don't say never. Yeah. I have. But she naps every day. I can't nap. I'll get cranky. I'll get annoyed. So that's just how it works. And I also find that because I work out so much, I have energy to do what I want to do. I want to do things.
Yes.
I don't want to live an inactive life. I want to be a part of events and the community, the contributions and all of that. And if you don't have any energy, you can't do it. And health is wealth. Health is wealth. I lost both my parents. My sister had breast cancer. You cannot put enough money. You gotta take care of yourself. That's it. I don't care how much money you have. If you don't exercise and eat right, I don't drink during the week. I can't say that every once in a while I don't have a glass of wine, but I try not to. Let's say that. I don't want to make that blanket statement. I try not to drink during the week because I have to wake up too early, and then I'm foggy, and then I'm tired. The weekend, I'll have wine. I'll have a drink. But
Yes.
for me, it's just not worth it. I feel crappy, for lack of
Yes.
a better word.
Yeah, no. And something I use, I'm trying to pick up now, me being a business owner, walking. I mean, I was an athlete and I enjoyed, the art of football and hitting and all these things. But for me, walking, something as simple as that, that's something that everybody can do. If you
It doesn't
can't
get
run,
enough credit. Walking is
walking really
fantastic.
doesn't. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Seriously. And I mean, if you can walk, even at like a slow pace, you don't have to walk at like this high, power walking pace. I see some people holding weights, and the human body, I feel like it's built to walk long distances. And I really enjoy that. It helps my mental space. And
Oh,
that's what I want to touch on with you is the mental space. So I talk a lot. Like I said, this platform is built to help people that are trying to get out of their current situation and to possibly get into something that they don't know. How do you keep that mental sharp? Because that's important too.
it is exercise. So,
Hmm.
you wanted me to share, so I'll share.
Yes, please.
I've had the last, we're in 2024.
Hmm.
The last 5 years of my life have been the most challenging ever. I got divorced.
Wow.
Well, I lost my mom when I was 30. Then in 2020, I got divorced after 22 years. And I lost my dad. My sister got breast cancer. And then I lost my dad to bile duct cancer. And, I'm an empty nester. I mean, I couldn't tell you. I kept saying, what else are you going to throw at me? You should never say that. And I
Hmm.
will tell you that the only thing and if you were to hear me on the radio, I did share about my dad because he was such a big part of my life. I mean, he was my dad. He was the best. I'm a daddy's girl. I
Yes.
always will be. Um, so I shared that on the air a little bit, but you never would have known that I was having a bad day or anything like that because I have a job to do. And my job is to make you wake up and go to work however long you listen. You might listen for 10 minutes. You might listen for 20. You might listen for 3. I don't know. However long, I'm grateful. So you don't need me to be like, oh my God, you're never going to believe my life. My job is to make you maybe have a laugh, maybe think about something and get on your way. So you don't
Yes.
need me to be down. And if I didn't have exercise, if I didn't go for a run, if I didn't go to a class, I wouldn't have been able to do it. It was that 1 hour that didn't have to think about, I have to call the hospice nurse. Oh, I've got to do this or feeling sorry for myself because I'm
Hmm.
now all of a sudden I'm single at this age. There was no time. That was my time to, am I going to hit my splat points? Am I going to, whatever. And so all I can tell you is, I don't care how depressed you are, put on your shoes and go for a walk. In
Yes.
20 minutes, you'll feel better. It's the best antidepressant you will ever have. And not enough people do it. Everybody is so quick to take a pill. If you need a pill, and this is not like, if you need it, by all means, if you've gone to the doctor and you've been prescribed and you have something to help you, wonderful. But I can promise you what will be something you never regret going for a walk. You never regret going to the gym, ever, ever. I cannot tell you enough. If you're down, if you don't know how to solve a problem, if you are, go for a walk. And when you come
Hmm.
back, you might not have the answer, but you'll feel better.
Hmm.
You might not even think it's as big of a deal as you thought it was when you walked out the door. I promise, promise that is the cure all. Not for cure all for making yourself feel better.
Yeah.
Can't tell
Now,
you enough.
you brought up a great point though, because I like to think about just getting something started, right? I think the mental gymnastics of actually starting it hurts a lot more than actually starting it. So I think like I give myself an example. One of my goals was to wake up at 4 o'clock a.m. Right? My wife was like, "What do you wake up at 4 o'clock for? That's too early." I actually went to bed at 11 o'clock. I went to bed late,
Oh,
but I can tell you when I woke up at 4 o'clock, I put my workout clothes on. I put my whatever audio book. I felt so accomplished. I felt literally, and I got back home and it's like 5:30. I had so much time. I just felt good. I felt good. And I actually got through my day. And I remember it was like maybe 7, 8 o'clock. And I'm like, oh, I'm sleepy.
Yep.
And you do it all over again. So I think that the effort, and I'm thinking about myself too, because I'm trying to get back in the gym. I'm trying to get, get myself back in there. Once you actually start and you're in there, you're right. I never said to myself, man, I regret coming to the gym. I
Never.
always say, I feel so good coming to the gym. Why didn't I do this before?
Now, I'm not going to lie that when I'm driving to the gym, I'm like, oh, man.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But I
Yes.
play a game with myself.
Mhm.
I play a game. I always say, listen, you don't have to go hard. Just go. Just do a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
And I tell myself this, and I'm like, just don't worry. And then when I
Yes.
get there, I'm an incredibly competitive person with myself, and
Yes.
I kill it. I kill it. I mean, I do more than I told myself I would, and I'm always like, all right, you did okay.
Yeah.
So it's just getting there, and that's the discipline that's challenging, and
Yes.
it is a habit that you have to create. And I'll tell you, when I have things that happen that I don't go to the gym or I don't exercise, you can ask anybody that knows me. They'll go, you didn't work out today, did you? You notice it. And I notice it. I'm not myself. I'm like jumping out of my skin. And I'm like, wow, because I do it so much, I'm not aware of how much it helps me. I just wish more people knew. I'll never forget this one story, and then I won't bore you anymore. I tried yoga. Yoga's not necessarily something I love. I should do
yoga
it
hurts.
more. It hurts. It's hard.
It hurts.
But I have to get better at it. And that's something that I'm trying to do, because I need to slow it down, because I'm like this. But she was great. And I'll never forget, there was this 80-year-old woman there who was like a pretzel. And I thought, oh my God, if she can do it. And so I tried.
Of course.
At the end of the yoga practice, the teacher was giving us a little, namaste type of a thing. And she said to us, when you stop moving, you die. And I thought that was quite a sentence. I'm like, wow. And I never forgot that she said that. So you can't stop moving. And that could be a metaphor for so much, right? Don't stop moving forward in your career, in your profession, in your personal life, or just don't stop moving, put on your shoes and get going.
Yes. Yeah. And no, thank you so much. And like I said, it's as easy as getting out, putting shoes on, and walking.
That's it.
That's just what it comes down to, and everything else will solve itself. But so one thing I like to do is, like I said, I'm rusty, so I'm getting the rust off. I'm starting to get back to getting back to normal.
I don't think you're rusty.
Actionable insight. So this platform, Industry Insiders, I don't necessarily like running it as a typical podcast. I mean, you're super interesting, but I think it's time. Let's give some people some interesting and some insight that they can take home. So if I'm a maybe 18-year-old, 19-year-old that just graduated from Full Sail, what is my pathway to finding my first, maybe even free gig? Are there any radio stations that I should be looking out for to at least get started? How does that work usually in the beginning?
I'll tell you, the game has changed for the young kids coming in. When I started out, internship was how I got my foot in the door, and I got credit for it in school. And then I stayed. So that's the secret. So there is a young man who is currently doing an internship. I say it like this because it's not your traditional internship, right? Which I don't even know if that exists anymore anyway. Twice a week, I see him on my sister station. It's our Kiss Country, 99.9 Kiss Country. And he's got to be 20 something years old, 21, 22. And so what he did was he got in because his mom, and it's all who you know. His mom in the building and got him. That was his favorite station. So she said, do you mind if he comes and sits in? And they were like, sure. So he sat in and they struck up a rapport. And now he's there twice a week. Then on the same token, They needed somebody to do a promo hit, take the van out to one of the events. And they're like, hey, are you available? And the kid was like, I'm available. So it's what I would tell, I'm giving you him as an example because there is no right path, right? If you want to do something, see if you know anybody. And if you don't, what did you do with me? You hooked up, you connect with me on LinkedIn. You asked me, could I be interviewed? It's as simple as
Yes.
that. I
Yes.
think so many kids are afraid to ask. The answer might be no, but it might not be. So keep asking. Not even the most. You're like they'll never respond. They might not. They might have a good day and say like, "Well, sure. Why don't you come in?" You have to try. So think about where you want to be. Where do you want to be? And then you walk in that door. You email them, you LinkedIn, however, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok. I don't know. There's a million ways that you can get a hold of people these days.
Yeah.
Find your in and keep asking and keep asking and keep showing up because it's the persistent ones that get noticed.
Yes.
Otherwise, the reason why I got an opportunity, I wasn't any more special than anybody else. Yeah, we could talk about, oh, you were always a good reader and I was always a good speaker, but they don't know that when they see me in the hallway at WSHE. I'm just some girl with crazy hair, which is exactly what I look like. But that girl kept showing up. You got to keep showing up. That's what I would tell you to do. And if you like something, if you want to be a podcaster, let's say, listen to your favorite podcasts.
Yes.
What do they do that you like? Can you emulate that? Can you do it better? Is there something you do better? Like be curious about why you like something. Does it speak to you? Like I honestly don't know what else I would do if I didn't do this. I don't know. Never thought about it.
Motivational speaker, motivational coach, life coach, fitness guru. You can do a million things.
Wow, DeAndre, you need to be my manager.
See? You'd be good.
I do need one.
I got you.
So that's what I would advise the youngsters to do. And I think that, listen, I have kids that are 18 and 22. They are always, you do it for me. And I'm like, no, you got to do it for you. And the Gen Zers are a whole different generation.
Whole different generation.
Oh, yes. Believe me, I've given birth to two of them. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah, because I think with them, there's like so many options out there. But radio, like you said, radio is pretty much podcasting. But it's to me, it's the highest level and form of podcasting. You're reaching pretty much. How many people do you think you reach at your radio station now in the morning?
We have a cume. So cume means any given time.
Yeah.
Over 1 million people.
Wow. And these are people that don't even subscribe. They just need to turn the radio station over and pretty much click on your radio station. Yeah.
And they might listen for all of 10 seconds and be like, I don't like this song. Or I don't like what they're talking about or whatever. But at any given time, we have, a ginormous audience at least tuning in.
Yes.
Whether they stay or not that's a different story. But
right.
Yeah.
No,
radio is considered archaic. When you talk to the kids, it's considered archaic.
They just because everything is so easy to stream and you could.
And that's just it. You have so many options for music. You've got Spotify and Pandora and I don't know. Apple
it's not
Music.
the same. It's not the same because I know you. I know you remember this. Do you remember? You remember sitting at home on a Saturday or random like Sunday, and then you'll cut the TV on and there's a movie that you've watched like 70 times, but you just feel like watching it for the 71st time.
Yes.
To me, that's radio. Like I'll hear a song, I'm like, oh, turn it up. I've heard that song 1 million times. I can go stream that song. I can play it on YouTube. But there's something about radio that it just feels different. But I'm old. I guess I'm old now. I'm out of that generation.
DeAndre, don't say that to someone who's my age. You're not old.
We're I think no, it's
just getting started. I promise. That was when I was just getting started.
Let's move on to the next thing really quick. So we have our kid. our young kid, he's 18, 19 years old. He somehow breaks through and he gets an internship, if you still want to call it that. Before we get to the point of him getting that internship or getting that opportunity, if he's using LinkedIn, who's he reaching out to? Is it a program director? Who should people look to reach out to just for opportunity?
Yeah, program directors are your first point of contact, but these days on the radio, what I don't like is that they've gone to voice tracking. So it's not
Interesting.
necessarily live all the time. I am live in the morning, there's no doubt. And most morning shows are live. And a good part of the day, but in order for an 18-year-old to want a radio job, he's got to know he'll be doing weekends most likely.
Yes.
And might be voice tracked. So, monetarily things have changed in the radio game as well. They might pay you, if it takes you 2 hours to record a 4-hour or 6-hour show, you'll get paid for 2 hours. And it's not live. And I think that there's so much lost when you're recording. When you're recording, you can do things a couple of times. You can say, oh, I didn't like the way that sounded, and you do it again. When you're live, you're live. You screw up. I mean, one of the best tips I got getting into the business is, you're a pro when you know how to get out of your screw up. How do I spin? And you got to do it on the fly. So you're like, oh my God, this is terrible. And you see it. You're like, oh my God, we're drowning. How do we get out of this? And if you find a way to get out of that, drowning pool that you're in, then you've done all right. That's the beauty of live radio. And unfortunately, when you do a voice track, so even podcasts, they're not all of them are live. I mean, I don't know any that are live. My personal one, that doesn't mean that there aren't any. You just kind of lose that raw, anything can happen at any time,
Yes.
Someone might say something
Yes.
uncomfortable and ooh, now what? That's fun.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and I think, I think you have to be like a person that can make fun of yourself a little bit, because so many people are, including myself, we're all humans. I mean, we want to do great. We want to look good to other people. But I think, like you said, that live thing, that's bravery. That's courage to be able to jump on, because I feel like so many people are constantly, think about you going and you speaking, doing public speaking. How I got over my fear of public speaking is the people that I'm speaking to, they're more afraid than I am. And it's funny, when you actually look somebody in the face and they're there, you can see a little bit of fear and hesitation on their face. They're actually a lot more nervous than me. So that actually helps me to feel better. But the live thing, that's a whole different animal, because you have to be at a point to where, hey, if I mess up, I mess up. It makes it cool. It makes it relatable. So but
it is relatable. I mean,
yes.
And unfortunately, in our world, right, we only put our best foot forward on social media. Everyone's got filters all over their pictures.
Yes.
I genuinely do not know how to do that. So that's one thing. There's that. There's, you put things up for likes. And so we all do that. We all want that validation, but that's just not the real deal. It's just not.
Yes.
And that also contributes to everybody having all this fear, because they have to be live. And that requires a lot of vulnerability. It's not so much courage as vulnerable. Like, you must know you will get judged on anything you say. And so you just have to be okay with that. Somebody might like it, somebody might not. I've said things that I thought were completely fine and normal, and then I would get scathing emails. And that's hurtful. I'm not going to say it didn't hurt me. It did. I'd be like, oh my God, I wasn't trying to offend, and somehow I did, So you just have to be ready for it. But you might do that in everyday speak anyway.
Oh yeah, you're definitely going to do that. And to any young kids out there, just realize that Nothing's going to be perfect. The only way you're going to get to, and not even just young kids, I think, young adults, older adults, you will never get to where you want to be if you don't just try. And I think, just to be able to cap this whole entire conversation off, I don't need to ask you, Julie, a million questions in order to get there. Like you said, I've reached out to you. You're either going to tell me yes or you're going to tell me no. I think some encouragement. What's one thing that you would give someone that's around that age range that's wanting to, and it doesn't have to be an actual like radio voice position. Maybe you have some producers out there who you could use that, will want to come in and produce a show for free. Or maybe it's someone that wants to work more in the background. Maybe it's someone that wants to be more of I don't know. What advice would you give to someone looking to just work the job of their dreams that you didn't have when you were coming up?
I never believed it was going to happen. Never. I really didn't believe it was going to happen. And yet I still showed up. So in my head, I'm thinking, well, maybe I had a little bit of an inkling it might. I just didn't believe it, but I still kept showing up because I wanted to be in the environment. So I don't even know if you want to call it advice. What I would tell, and I tell my son this because he's a creative. My daughter is more, she's going to go into physical therapy. And so she's going to be more the academic that you go to school, you get a degree, you get a job. When you're a creative type like yourself, like me, my son, it's not an easy path. It's just not. You have to
all over the place.
You got to forge your own path, and you have different wants. But I know I've never felt more alive than in the environment that I'm in. Never. I've tried. I've gone to I thought I was going to actually mid radio before I did mornings. I thought I was going to teach. I was going to go back. I had taken classes. I was going to go back to school and get an education degree. And my mom passed away, so I didn't finish. But that was also because I wasn't supposed to. I'm supposed to stay in this path. Because I would have been fine with it. And I remember that when I did do a few of my clinicals, when you have to show up in the class, it was fine. It was okay, but it wasn't. I didn't feel alive like I did when I walked into a radio station. I'll tell these kids, go where you want to be. My son wants to write and create music, so he found somebody who has a little recording studio in the back of a barber shop. And he goes there all the time, and he hangs out with other kids like him, and they write, and they talk, and I said, good, something's going to come out of that. What will it be? A hit record? I don't know. Maybe not. But he's around like-minded people. Be around like-minded people, but be around positive, like-minded people. If you've got someone who's a naysayer, a negative Nelly, wants to cut you down, they're not for you. Move. You got to move on. Be around people who want to see you do well. You could come up together, uplift you. Go where you feel alive. You'll know. You'll know where it is. And don't be afraid to not make money, because you're not going to. The money does come eventually. And as a woman, I still have to fight and claw for a quarter of what the men make in my industry. And that is not a lie. That is not a lie. But that's another discussion. Don't go for it for the money. I mean, who doesn't want to make money? We all want to make money. Of course we do. But if you got to love it, you got to love it.
Yes.
That's what I would say.
Yes. No, seriously. Thank you. I know. I went an entire year without making a single dollar in my own business. So yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it, right? Yeah, I love it. I mean, I even as a composer.
You know what the answer is? If someone said to you, DeAndre, if you win the lottery, are you still going to do this job?
Yes.
Thank you. Now you know.
Every day, every single day, I'll get up because it, like you said, it's life to me as a creative too, like you. It's like a movie, like a simulation. I feel like, and it feels like that to me every day. So you can choose, pretty much whatever it is that you're gonna do. If I want to go live in Idaho and farm, I could make the decision to go do that if I wanted to and be a farmer. If I wanted to go and and move to Texas, it's going to be expensive. I can do that. So there's really no limits to what you or any of us can do. I mean, I think it, like you said, it comes down to making a decision, walking, exercising when you don't want to exercise, and just thinking about where do I want to be ultimately. And I think, like you said, that's the main message that, I mean, I have other questions, of course, but I think this is a perfect time to cap this off, is that your journey it's a human relatable journey because it's filled with hard work. You're a human being.
Yeah.
And you've had your success, because you've worked hard towards it, and you actually stuck your foot out. You touched the water. You're like, oh, wait a minute. That water it's not that bad. So, thank you so much. No, seriously. Thank you so much for, just giving us insight, giving my audience insight on what you're doing. There's so much more, of course.
Me. And I am honored that you asked me. You don't know who you resonate with. You don't know. That's
yes.
So I honestly sometimes don't think anybody's listening. I really do.
Yes.
So if anyone does, I'm so grateful. And so thank you for asking me to be on. I love this, and I hope it does phenomenal for you.
Thank you. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid if I ask you again. So that's gonna happen because yes. Thank you so much, Julie. Just to recap really quick. Yes. This is our 6th episode with Julie Guy. For anyone that's looking to get into radio, anyone looking to get into a producer, she is looking for a producer, for free, hopefully.
Oh, we can't pay you.
Yeah. But she is looking for a producer, and they can't pay. So if you are, looking, that'll be an awesome opportunity, reach out, use LinkedIn, use whatever you have to have. But, Julie, just one last thing before I go. If there is one quote that you think about every day in your life that just gets you out of bed, what is that quote for you in your life?
It's going to sound very cliche.
It's okay.
But it's Maya Angelou.
Okay.
When you know better, you do better.
Oh.
I've made a lot of mistakes. A lot. And I know better now.
Yes.
Better.
Yes.
Give yourself grace. You're going to mess up. You're going to screw up. But when you know better, you do better.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Julie. This has been DeAndre French with Julie Guy. As I said, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's been a little while since I last recorded. Hopefully the rust has went off, but we got a lot more in store next week. Hopefully we have an optometrist coming on the show, and we're going to do something awesome with him. Hopefully my sound situation holds up. But Julie, thank you so much. Have a great day. And this is DeAndre French, out.